Well, hello, folks out there. Got Sports Talk Jay Byron at the golf. These are fairways and greens, and I got my bro Chilmont here. Today we're going to talk live all about the Florida game that's coming up. I'm assuming everybody's hearing us good out there. I'm pretty sure you are. Just let us know in the comment section. Let's see.
Is that Chilmont Jr.?
Go. Oh, got Bambi. I got Bambi in the house.
Got to show Bambi.
Bambi's the most popular. You should have said Bambi for later. Now everybody's going to want Bambi the whole time.
Yeah. I'll show her again.
All right. Well, I wanted to bring Byron in here today. Now, I talked to Chilmont earlier, and he started talking all about the game. I said, save it for tonight. But Byron, I don't know how long we're going to have Byron, but he's very reasonable and always has been when it comes to UT football. He's kind of the voice of reason, so I thought it'd be good to have him in here tonight. Give us your opinion of the Gator game coming Saturday night. Obviously, the big topic is Joe Milton. How is he going to play? How is he going to handle the pressure of the swamp? All that kind of stuff.
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for letting me be on here with two legends. I was actually in the grocery store the other day, and I saw Chilmont signing autographs. So,
Byron, I went to Kroger the other day, and a guy came up to me and said, "Are you Chilmonte?" I swear.
Chilmonte.
Yes. And I said,
yeah, that's what
yes,
I
I
saw.
am.
I must have seen you. That's when you were signing the autographs. I thought you were going to have it roped off or something. I thought you were sponsoring by like Sargento cheese or something. I thought that was your new sponsorship.
No, Boar's Head ham.
Boar's Head ham?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. No, the game kind of worries me. I was, I think I'm like everyone else after seeing that display against Austin Peay. But again, I kind of, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with kids. And I think what really messed them up a little bit, they're overlooking this. I mean, it's a complete sandwich game after an opener, and then you're looking forward to Florida. You're overlooking Austin Peay. And then you have that delay. The pregame gets all mixed up. You're off to a slow start, and it just sort of snowballs on you. So it's just like, I tell, in the golf world, if you get a rain delay and you don't get your proper warm up in and you start off with a couple of bogeys, it's just sort of hard to recover. So I'm kind of chalking some of that up to that. But guys, I think it really just it's very simple. I think Heupel's going to scheme them. Heupel's going to put the players in the right position. Is Milton going to be accurate? And that's the bottom line. If receivers are going to drop some, he's going to miss some. But if he is completely inaccurate and we cannot move the ball, we can get down, and it'll be the same sort of effect where we're not going to be able to come back and muddle through as much. The good news is I don't think he turns it over much. So I don't think we'll shoot ourselves in the foot that way, but we've got to maybe get him some easy throws, get his confidence up, and get him going, because he kind of reminds me of some golfers I know. If he gets down and makes a couple of early bogeys, they're off the air for a little bit, and you can't do that, especially down in Florida.
Yeah, it does. It reminds me a lot of golf. Being a quarterback is so similar to golf because it requires touch and skill under pressure, and that's not easy to do. And, it's not like being a middle linebacker where effort is so key. It gets really difficult, and that's why the pressure that he's going to be under, we're going to find out a lot about him. I can promise you that, because this is a pressure cooker of epic proportion, even more than the Orange Bowl, a lot more than the Orange Bowl. And that crowd is going to be absolutely on fire, worse than he's ever seen. So it's going to learn a lot about him.
I agree. We just need to get off to a solid start, get some first downs, get some confidence going, because if his confidence gets shaken, I'm afraid what might happen. Now I believe he's going to be coached up well. I think they're going to put scheming in ways for him to succeed. It's just whether he does it or not.
Yeah.
Go ahead there, Chilmont.
I was thinking, it's kind of and I really love him. He's stayed here when he probably maybe shouldn't, or most guys certainly would not have. And after he got kind of benched by Hooker, and the thing is, are we going to get the Clemson Milton? Are we going to get the Virginia Milton? Or are we going to get the Austin P Milton? And if we get the first two, I think we're gold. I think we have no problem. And I think kind of a little bit like us, their quarterback is, although he doesn't have near the athleticism that Milton has, he's a fairly solid quarterback, but he's not one that can beat you. He's one that can manage the game. And what Utah did was kind of shut down their run game and let their quarterback try to beat him, and he couldn't. So if we could do that, which we've been good against the run for the last really 2 seasons anyway, if we can be good against the run and make it, okay, you've got to beat us in the air, I think we've got a real good shot of winning. And if Milton plays good, I think it's an easy win. And on paper, it should be.
Yeah, it's the amount of, I don't know what, I've said this several times this week. I don't know what the stakes could be any higher, even possibly higher than they are right now. And if I was him, I would try to run. I would try to run the ball early on and get things rolling, because that extra running, basically he's an extra running back, and he's 6'5", 235, and he's fleet-footed. When he runs and takes off, he's got good speed. He's not slow at all. And they would not expect that. And they don't have the horses or the numbers to handle that. That's what I would do if I was him. And I think that would get the momentum and get a lot of the, butterflies out of his stomach. Yeah. If he could pick up 10 or 20 yards a couple of times and really kind of shock their team, and then just get with the flow of the game. That would be what I would do with him. What do you think, Byron?
I agree. I think what you want to do is, and I think Heupel will do this, and that would be part of getting him success, is scheme up some plays that they're not quite expecting, and a lot of quarterback runs would be that. Maybe some of those, they do the wide receiver screens, but, maybe a screen out from the back, because a lot of this are dive plays and then down deep field shots. So some of those screens to the back, something and some misdirection to kind of get them on their heels early and get him some success, because he just looks like when he's full of confidence, he gets going. And if he gets down, he has a hard time letting some of those things go. So, that's the key. Just hitting some shots. And like you said, with golf, it's not about effort. It's about confidence. And he's more like a long drive guy than a golfer at times. When he gets nervous, he just goes at it harder instead of going at it, going through your progressions and going easier. But I've been impressed. He's watching the Virginia game. I got to see it a lot more than the Austin P game. I could watch it spottily where I was. He went through his progressions well. He handled it well. It's just it's like the guy who, and I was talking with Walter, it's like a guy, he can hit a ton of greens. It's just, is he making the putts? And that's just completing the passes. That it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And I just hope he has the confidence and the touch and confidence in his ability to do it.
Yeah, I think he knows what he's doing out there. He's making good decisions. He's been in this system now for 2.5 years. So I don't think that's the issue at all. I think he's just he gets uncomfortable, because my understanding in practice, he's unbelievable. And that's, when you're out on the range, think about how good you hit that ball. Yeah. Then you get out there, it's like, oh, crap. So that may be part of it. But, yeah, if they could get him in the flow, throw some of those bubble screens out to the sidelines like they like to do. And at some point, Florida's bad to try crap. They'll try to come in there and intercept that pass. That's when you burn them. That's when, if they get up tight and you see them doing that, take off. And I'll bet you anything the wide receivers have that option, because if Heupel, he always gives the receivers an option. They can either do A or B. Depending on what the defense and how it's set up, they have the option to do what they want. And then the quarterback reads that. And the quarterback and the receiver are supposed to be on the same page of, okay, we see the same defense. So he's not going to do A, he's going to do B, because that's the best thing to do in that setup. That's why this offense is so great.
And I think you might see one of those because they'll see on tape, if I'm a Florida defensive guy, like, he doesn't have confidence, and they're going to throw some of these wide receiver screens. And I would not be surprised if early they fake one of those and that guy's going to fake a block and take it long. And that opportunity will be there to float one out there. And if he can hit them, I mean, I would not be shocked to see that on one of the first plays.
I started to say, I guarantee you they're looking at Austin Peay tape all day and all night long and seeing what they did to give us fits that first half. And that was one of the things. We couldn't go downfield very well, so we went to the sidelines. And the nice thing about that is when you're throwing that type of play, your receiver's standing still. He's pretty easy to hit.
Yeah.
He's not going 30 miles an hour, toward the goalpost. And that's where we weren't so accurate. But, I think, and they'll try to pick six one of those. And if you can see them coming up to try to pick one of those, maybe you can delay a little bit, or like you said, Byron, that's a good point, fake and then hit somebody down the middle or a little further downfield. The question is, can he hit them?
Yep.
And the other thing, and of course, we've talked about this, great pitchers, they have a good fastball, but they also have a good curveball and they have a good changeup. The one knock on Joe is he doesn't have much of a changeup. He kind of has a fastball and then a little less fastball. You know what I mean? And
he's got a fastball strike and a fastball out of the zone. That's what.
Yeah. And you got to be able to hit that fade in the corner of the end zone, and that's just a lob. It's almost a jump ball, and I haven't seen that really yet. I mean, I see a ball going about head high, 90 miles an hour. And if it's not right on the money, it's really hard to catch. And I think that was a problem with the drops last week.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Byron,
I've got to run. I've got more golfers to get better. So thank you for letting me join.
Hey, no
Go
problem.
Vols, and hope they play well
to get
Saturday.
your opinion on what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll holler
Good to
at
see you, Byron.
Thank you, guys.
See you, bud.
Have a good one.
All right. There goes Byron. I wanted him to talk as much as he could because he could only stay a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, it's
speak
always
so
good
much.
to have him come in and chime in. He's usually a huge supporter of Joe and has been. He seemed a little bit – he didn't seem so confident this time. Normally he and I argue a little bit because I'm like, he needs to prove it. He needs to prove it. And he's like, well, he's going to. And this time he was a little bit less that. I'm just old school, man. I've been talking about this some this week. When I was on the golf team at UT, it was just whoever was playing best. And we had to qualify every week. And they took the top 5. There was 14 of us. And there was usually 1 or 2 that didn't have to qualify. They were usually all Americans, all SEC. They were just so good they didn't have to qualify. But there was usually like 3 spots, sometimes 4, sometimes 2 open. And you would qualify that week. And if you played well, you got to go on the trip and play in the tournament. If you didn't, you didn't. And nobody gave a crap about your feelings. It was whoever plays the best. And, now that thing about golf is there's a score. I shot 72 or I shot 75 or whatever it was. Well, that guy shot 74. He shot one better than you. He's going on the trip. And normally it was 2 days, but sometimes it was 1 day. That would really put the pressure on you. And they would take the top 3 or top 4. So I'd like to see some of the other guys at some point this year. I mean, we've had absolutely no look of live reps from Nico or Gaston Moore. And I don't even know what we've got there as far as live. It's great when you see a spring game because Gaston looked really good. Nico flashed. But until the lights are on, you don't know. See, Josh Dobbs wasn't good in practice. Nobody liked him in practice. And then when the lights came on, man, that guy balled out.
Yeah, he was ridiculous.
Yeah, some people are just gamers. So,
That's
we don't know what we've got behind Milton. We've got a 5-star #1 player in the country behind him, but he's a true freshman, been there 10 months. And then you got Gaston Moore, who's a veteran who's been with Heupel for 3 years and obviously knows the system so well. I mean, when you watched him in that spring game, he looked like a coach out there. So
he knows it inside and out. And he's got a decent arm and pretty good mobility too. And that was the other thing you mentioned when we talked earlier. Need to see probably Joe if it's not open, if he's standing there in the backfield, and nothing opens up, run.
Just go, man, go.
Just go, because they're not going to be really looking for that because he hadn't done much of that. And if you see an opening, dude, run, get the first down. Keep the offense on the field. Keep their offense off the field.
Yeah, there will be opportunities for him to run without question. I have zero doubt of that. Yeah. And I think he could be a fantastic runner of the ball. Now, I don't expect him to be Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker had that escapability, and I'm hoping that's what Nico looks a little bit that way to me. He seems to have a nice sense in the pocket, but Joe could definitely hurt Florida. I can tell you, the Florida people are scared of him running. They've seen some of his running ability, and they're nervous about it. I was on High Top Sports the other night, and many of y'all saw that. That was their first question. Said, we're concerned about Joe running. And the second thing they're concerned about, as far as they're concerned about our front seven on defense. They were like, they know we're loaded on the defensive line. And we've had, granted, it's against two not great teams, but we've got 11 sacks on the board and 25 tackles for loss. And they've got
that's the other thing. If we can
2 sacks, Florida's got 2 sacks, which is rare for them. They normally have those nightmare edge guys.
Yeah.
They don't have that this year. They don't have those freak athletes on the edge that can just nail you.
I think we may have the edge in the edge rushers. Plus, our defensive line is really good. We need to shut down their running game and just make them one-dimensional. If we can make them one-dimensional, that's another thing I think will help us win the game. That's pretty much what Utah did, and handled them pretty good with their third-string quarterback, by the way.
That was a good question. The guy asked, he said, who would you bring in? Let's say if Joe didn't play well, who'd you bring in? It's going to be Nico. You can just count on that because Nico's your future, and he's got that high ceiling. Unless there was some issue with his wrist that supposedly he had a little bit of an issue with the wrist last week, then you might bring in Gaston. I'd be comfortable with Gaston. I'd like to see what he could do. But, you hope – it's so frustrating that we didn't get to see either one of them in the Austin Peay game because we didn't put them away early. Because we should have seen a ton of Nico and at least some of Gaston in that game, and we just didn't get to see it.
Well, it was too close of a game for almost 3 quarters, and that was the thing. Thinking about this earlier too, if we'd have scored 48 or 50 points against Austin Peay, I would be way less worried about this game. I would feel so much better about this game.
It would depend on how we scored it. If we'd have done it running the ball, I wouldn't be as confident because this offense requires both. You've got to be able to hit those passes. You've got to be able to tear them up with those mid to long passes, and we just aren't doing that right now. So we're doing all short stuff. That's why those numbers don't look bad. He had over 200 yards, but he had 11 straight receptions that were behind the line of scrimmage, basically, that were easy tosses. He was 1 for 8 on the tough tosses. And that's, he needs to be at least 4 for 8 on those, really 5.
Well, if you actually look at his passing stats and if you look at passes, his completion rate of passes 10 yards and under, it was 21 and 23. And that was most of his completions. So, over 10 yards,
he can
was
throw
not that good. It was like 50-50.
Yeah, he puts it over there right in their hands. He makes that nice sideline pass. And the nice thing about that pass requires speed. That ball's got to get there. The faster that ball gets there, the more opportunity that receiver has to make moves and run. And the less time the defense has to come up on him. So you want to get it out there as quick as you can. So he's great for those plays.
Yeah, that's when you want to throw the fastball.
Absolutely. You just want to throw literally a fastball right at the guy and let him catch it and make his moves and start doing. I think we'll see quite a bit of that. Now, if Florida comes up and tries to take that away, now realize Florida in the back of their mind, they're thinking about that Utah game when they got burned for 70 yards on the very first play, and the rest of the day, the rest of the game, they were behind. And it just it messed up their whole mentality. So they might have that in the back of their mind of saying, yeah, they may be able to get some short stuff, but we are not going to get burned for 70 yards on the first dadgum play or the first series. I would think that's what the safeties are thinking. That doesn't mean a cornerback can't come up, but the safeties aren't going to do a whole lot except stay back, I think. I think they're going to have the two safeties high and try to keep everything in front of them. That's probably the role they're going to go with.
Yeah, they just don't want like Hooker would have done last year. They don't want to be burned deep.
Yeah, this guy says Tennessee has to start with the ball. I wonder about that. I wonder if we win the toss, if we don't play defense first, because he did that. Didn't he do that in the last game? We won the toss and we deferred. See, he's feeling a lot more confident about our defense than he has been in the past. See, we always took the ball before that, I'm pretty sure, as I recall, because we wanted to score. And, of course, we had Hendon, who was he was Mr. Fast Start. He loved to jump on him. So, but I think he's going to want that ball starting the second half, because the other thing Heupel likes, he likes that middle 8 minutes. He loves to score at the end of the first half and then get the ball back immediately in the second half and just kind of crush your soul right there.
Yeah.
Get about 10 or 14 points, which he's done many, 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 many times.
Oh, yeah. And he's been doing that most of his career. And, that was the thing I was thinking about this today. That was the great thing about last year, and really the last couple of years have been so fun, is because, literally you could be watching the replay on the Jumbotron of the last play, and they've already scored again. And it's like, oh, I missed. We just scored. I missed. Or if you're watching it on TV, it's like they're showing the replay, and they got to hurriedly come back because we just scored. That's how fast we could put it in the end zone. And it was because Hooker was so accurate down the field. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what we think Florida's going to do. I think they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to run the ball.
Definitely going to try to run the ball.
Okay. I do not think they're going to be successful at that. So I think what they'll fall back to is Graham Mertz throwing those 5, 10-yard passes, which he's quite good at. When the little short passes, he's really good at that. And I think he'll have success against our secondary and getting rid of the ball quickly. I don't see them doing a lot of long passes because I don't think they're going to have quite enough time for him to be back there while the wide receivers take off, because we're going to bring those edges hard at him. And fortunately, he doesn't have the moves like Jagger the way that Anthony Richardson did last year. That guy, geez, if you missed him, if you went after him and you missed him, he burned you hard.
Yeah,
that will not happen with Graham Mertz. He's got a little bit of mobility, but he's pretty much a stationary quarterback that's got a little tiny bit of move. But he's not going to take off with 4.6 speed or anything like that. And he's not looking to do that. He'll run occasionally if it's there, but it has to be wide open to him. It's like, okay, I don't have anything open and there's 10 yards, I'll go get it.
Yeah,
I don't see him running any plays where it's a quarterback draw or anything like that. I'd be kind of surprised.
No, he's not that type of player. And Richardson was kind of ridiculous, or at least he certainly was when we played him. And part of that was our defensive backfield was so bad, but which I think is improved this year. That's going to be, I think, another big help Saturday. We know our defensive line is good, and we're good against the run. So they should struggle to run the ball against us. Now, they very well may come out and do like Austin P did, every trick play in the book, every trick formation in the book. Austin P, they didn't hold anything back from the first play. I was watching the game there because I was at the game, and it was kind of shocking. Said, man, they came to play, and they had those weird formations where they'd kind of huddle and then they'd split. Half the line would go to one sideline almost, and the other half and they'd have like a center and two guards, and that was it. And then they'd redo again, and just to kind of throw us off. And I don't know that we won't see a little bit of that kind of trickeration with Florida, and probably an onside kick or two, because that worked last year for them.
Let's talk about the two centers. Florida is getting back their starting center. He had started like 20 some odd games, and he's coming back from an injury. I assume he's close to 100%, or they wouldn't be starting him. Of course, I know they're desperate on the offensive line to get their starting center back, because that's such a key position. That should help them. That should help them to be stronger than they were against Utah. We're probably going to get Cooper back, which is our starting center, and he's a key guy, and he knows how to move the offense quickly. So I think from what I can tell, it looks like 75-80% chance he starts. But we won't know until the game goes.
Yeah, I've heard it looked like he was going to play. I don't know if it's 100% yet, but I like you. I think it's like 70%. He's gonna play. But yeah, he's a big addition, and literally a big addition. But
So
his
Kingsley's his name.
Yeah, and his experience at that position is huge too. Offensive line is a lot more complicated than people realize, and he's got serious experience. And center's the most complicated position on the offensive line for sure, on either line.
You got to play all, you got to make all the calls, who to block, and all that kind of stuff. And you're always pointing over here and doing all this crap.
Yeah,
now let's talk about Aaron Beasley. I think Beasley is going to be he's the key guy on defense to me.
Yeah,
he has been balling out. His first two games, that guy has been a one-man wrecking crew, just like he was against Clemson. He has followed up this season from the Clemson game, where he just absolutely brutalized Clemson's offense, and he's done that 2 games in a row. And I see him doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, he should end up with an All-American this season. Losing Peely was really bad, because he'd done really well against Virginia, and he was looks like he was going to be a major up and comer. But Beasley's he's just a Beasley. He's a beastly.
Yep, he's a beast, is what he is.
Yeah,
he has shocked me. He's a guy I didn't like 2 years ago. I was like, this guy's too small. He's always in the wrong spot at the wrong time. People running over him. And then last year, he just started coming on. And now he's probably the best player on our defense, which just blows my mind. I never thought he would be this good. But he's just a beast.
He really is. And that's great. I love it. And,
smart too. He's very smart out there. I mean, he just makes the right moves, man.
He's one of those. He's been coached up apparently in a big way, and probably gotten a lot faster and stronger. And just now he's got the nose for the football, which is huge.
So you want to talk about special teams? I'm fired up about our special teams because of D. Williams. That guy is a home run waiting to happen. I was very pleased with our kicker. He made 3 kicks. He's a good – when you played at Indiana, he was rock solid there. He made some game-winning kicks. I think he's pretty solid for us. I don't think Florida's special teams are solid based on their last 2 games. They've struggled. They've had problems. They've had all kinds of issues. Now, our punter has been off and on. Like, if he hits it good, yeah, he's great, but he can also shank the crap out of it. So hopefully he won't hit any shanks with those little sideways Australian rules kick that he does. And the thing about that kick is, if you do it right, it's a nightmare to try to return, because it just throws everything off. But if you don't catch it right, it can be just a squirrely piece of crap.
I know it. And I'll be honest, I don't like that. I'd just rather punt it. Just punt it normal. And
it creates chaos is what it does. It's meant to create chaos and to give your players time to get down there so they can't get a return, because he usually sits back there and kind of meanders.
Yeah.
And kind of runs over to the side, left or right. And this guy can actually punt either way, which blows my mind, because I can't smell doing anything with my right side. I'm all about left.
Well, I'm the opposite way. I'm all right and can't, I can't.
Which most people are. It's rare to be ambidextrous.
Yeah, I can't kick rocks with my left foot, but that's one thing he's been I think it's is it his left foot he's been not very good with.
Let's see. Somebody actually said in here. I can't remember which one it was.
I think was the BBD pointed that out, or
here it is. He's way better when he kicks off his left foot instead of his right foot.
Okay, I got it backwards. But yeah, the ones that have been shanked have been off the right foot, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, if I'm Heupel, so kick it with your left foot. Don't you dare kick it with your right.
Yeah, left is better. It's probably, who knows? He's probably just as good with the right. It's just one of those fluke things. It's hard to say.
Yeah, he's definitely ambidextrous, which I've never understood.
Oh no, most people can't smell that at all. I definitely can't. But so we've got all that going on, and then we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room, which is one Billy Napier, the Nape Meister. Oh my gosh, I cannot begin to tell you the pressure that he could be under if he loses this game, because first of all, he's not had a marquee win yet. And he's been down there and played, 14, 15 games, and he's not had a marquee win of any kind. He's lost to all of their challengers as far as, rivals. He's lost all the rival games. He needs this game badly. He really does, because he's got a really good recruiting class coming in next year. I mean, it's top 3, and they've really gotten some good athletes. He doesn't need to lose that. So this is one of the most important games for him. He's got to get the ball rolling positively, because their schedule's tough. And it's I don't know if you've seen their schedule for next year, but it's a nightmare. They have
I know it.
They have 4 games outside of conference. And you know SEC how tough it is. Well, the 4 games, he's got like Grambling, which is the one easy one, I think. The other ones are Miami, who's playing really well. Florida State, who's playing great. And that don't ever sleep on UCF. UCF they just joined Power 5. They're going to recruit like crazy. They got Gus Malzahn, and they got they got that little brother syndrome where they need to win against a Florida State, whatever. So they'll be gunning for them like crazy. So that's their it's great. Who did that schedule?
Well, 3 years ago, that would have been an easy schedule.
That's true. That's exactly right. If you think about it, that was probably done 3 or 4 years ago.
That schedule was made 3 or 4 years ago, and that would have been an easy schedule, because Miami wasn't crap, and UCF had gone down, and
FSU was struggling too.
Exactly. They were struggling. Florida State was terrible.
Yeah, they had about 4 or 5 years there, right? I'm not going to say any more than 4 or 5 or 6, 7 years, because if you go back past that,
they turned it back around.
The FSU people went crazy on me because I got them confused with Miami.
Yeah.
But I can see the thinking. If you look back 3 years ago, they thought, you know what, let's do. These teams are down. We're up. Let's go ahead and schedule them, and let's dominate the state of Florida and just show everybody who's the boss. Because back then they were the boss. The other teams were struggling. It's like, let's just dominate Florida. That'll help us with recruiting. That'll help us with the fans and all that. So that's probably the thinking. And now it's going to come back and bite him in the rear end, because let's say he wins 5, 6 games, which is what I think he's probably going to win this year, 5 or 6 games. Hopefully not Saturday. But that's where, even if he wins that game, I still don't see him going beyond 6. So he's probably going to have borderline a losing record. Okay. Then let's say he gets his class in and he doesn't lose too many of them. What are they going to do as a true freshman? How much are they really going to help you as a true freshman? Probably not a ton. Okay. Then you go into that horrible schedule, and let's say they win 6 games again. I don't see Florida having that level of patience.
No,
that fan base can take that.
I think, and he knows it, and his hot seat is about, you turn the knob on 10 right now, but
it's not there yet. It's not a 10 yet. It's probably a 7.
If he loses, it's at least an 8. It's at least an 8. But
it's a 7 right now. It would go to 8.
Even Florida fans are saying it's definitely hot, but
it's not a 10.
But the thing is, he knows, and Feinbaum said it, and several others have said it. This is a must-win for Napier.
I think it is.
It's their best
I think it's a
chance.
must-win.
It's their best chance to beat a big rival. Because
Yeah,
who else?
well,
They're gonna beat Alabama, and probably not. They're gonna beat Georgia. No. Who else are they gonna beat? That's a big rival.
They need to beat Kentucky. They do need to beat, and they got to play them at Kroger Field. But they need to beat Kentucky because for some reason Kentucky's had their number kind of recently.
Exactly.
Which
it ain't gonna be
really
easy.
weird. Kentucky lost 35 in a row to them or something. It was some nutty number that they had lost to them.
Oh yeah.
And then I think they've won 5 out of the last 10 or something.
Yeah.
So very interesting. But yeah, he's definitely feeling the pressure.
This is his year that he needs to get a winning record because the odds of doing that next year are really slim with that schedule.
Yeah, he
knows he's under serious pressure. I promise you. And he's playing for his job. I don't think he'll be fired this year unless they really crap the bed. But he knows he's under pressure, and losing against Tennessee at home will be a major, excuse.
Boy, those Florida fans would not like that. They would not like that. Because that's one of their claims to fame is that they defeated us 9 times in a row down there, and they love that streak. Don't think for a minute that Florida fans don't absolutely love that streak.
I know it. Excuse me, I gotta excuse myself real quick, buddy. Sorry.
Fine. No worries. I'll pop you out there just for a second. But yeah, I'm telling you, those Florida fans enjoy having that over our heads. They love it. And so they want to keep that going. And every coach prior has been able to do that. Even Dan Mullen was like 4-0 against us as head coach. So they want to keep that crap going. Let's see what you folks are saying here. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Well, he'd be owed $32 million, Tracy, $32 million inis. So, I mean, he's fine. So before anybody says, oh man, you're being mean to Billy Napier. Oh, he's owed $32 million. He's going to make like $50 million. Worst case scenario, if they fire him, he'll have made like $50 million. So do not feel sorry for him. He will never know a poor day. His family will have generational wealth forever. So don't ever feel sorry for him. He's got a job to do, and that's to win ball games. And if he doesn't, goodbye. And they'll give some other guy $50 million, one Lane Kiffin. That's my prediction. If he gets fired, Lane Kiffin will be the next coach of the University of Florida. There's a high likelihood of that. So if he gets fired, I think there's right now, if I had to give a percentage odds of him being fired, I would put it at about 20%, something like that right now. If he loses this game, it would probably go to 25 or 30%. Yeah. So even if he only wins like 5 games this year, it's at best 50% that he would get fired. Even if he had a really poor season, if he wins 6, he'll be fine. He'll be fine if he wins 6. I don't think there's any chance they fire him at that. It's the losing season part. Not going to a bowl game is a very big deal for the fan base. They want a bowl game. I promise you, it's a big deal. It's a party. It's a reason to travel. It's recruiting. It's all of those things.
Well, that's it. And that's why the bowl system was around for so long, is because it was a big deal for athletic departments to have a big trip somewhere where they got wined and dined and all that. And that's what these bowls are. And plus they get a check, some smaller than others, but they get a big check at the end of the season, which helps. But the athletic director and his family and all his friends and all that get flown down to wherever. Hopefully it's in big
dog donors get to do all that.
Exactly. Big donors, other department heads or whatever. And they get a big vacation out of it, a big free one. And it's a big deal. And plus it's a huge deal for the fans.
Yeah. Kelly is asking which of the enemy shows did I like better? Actually, it's funny. Allie Peak of Peak into the Gators, couldn't not have been a nicer person. She's just a really sweet lady and good mom and all that, and just a good person. And she knows football. She knows football very well, and she knows Florida football. So hers was really easy. The guys were giving me a little bit of grief, but actually they were quite fun. They had a real good attitude about it. I've given them a ton of grief, by the way. I have flipped video clips and messed with them and all that kind of stuff. So they deserved to give me some grief, which they did. It wasn't anything terrible or brutal. They were actually pretty kind to me, but I had fun with them, and we laughed hard several times on some stuff. They were giving me grief. They gave me grief about my forehead, like I didn't know I got a big forehead.
Yeah, the Peyton
I
Manning.
had no idea. I've never seen my own forehead.
Yeah, really? You're kidding.
So they had fun with that. But no, it was a good time. And they got the guy that talks exactly like Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs, got the identical voice. I'm telling you. And I told him, I said, do y'all not hear this guy? I said, how do y'all not think he sounds like Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs? And they're like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, don't tell him that. I'll give him a big head. It's like, he could be Mike Rowe.
Now, which one was that one?
You didn't get to see him. He was off the screen. He covers FSU, and he was actually in the same room with the high top guy, which is Shelton.
Okay.
And then the other guy is the Dave, who is he worked for a lot of the Gators online stuff, and I think he's kind of a journalist. He's probably more than kind of a journalist. So he's the pro guy, and they've seen my videos where I've made sport of them, and they're like, "Man, you're not doing that. You try to fit your narrative." And I said, "No, I wouldn't do it. Of course, I'm trying to fit a narrative and make you look dumb, not dumb, but I'm. That's not the right word. I like to.
Well, it's never malicious.
I like to make a little bit of sport of Florida Gators people. That's what I like to do. So
well, the thing is, we've been wandering the wilderness for the last 20 years. Yeah. And we finally had a couple of good seasons. We got a great coach. We got some talent. Why can't we make a little sport of some other teams for a change when we beat them, especially?
Well, they've made sport of us many times. And I told him, I said, it has everything to do with Steve Spurrier robbing us of two natties and a Heisman. That's a big part of it. But I think High Top Sports has a great show. It really, if you want to know what's going on with the Florida Gators,
they're very good.
Tune into High Top Sports, and you'll know. They're now granted he's a little bit of a cheerleader for his team, but he's very realistic. If there's something going on that's not good, he'll come right out and say, okay, this is a problem. And so I like the realistic parts of their show. Yeah. And then they got the pro guy on there that'll give you the stats and all that. But it's just a fun show that I think is going to be very successful long term for him. And then Allie, there just aren't a lot of females in this genre. No. And she's the real deal. I mean, she really knows what the crap she's talking about. She's not reading a script or anything like that. She's been surrounded by football her entire life. I think her dad played at Florida. I think her brother. I think she's married to a football player. So they 100%. She knows what she's talking about, and she's just very professional. She doesn't get into the smack talk and all that crap like I do. She's staying above that, but she didn't. She actually likes it, and we had a good time.
It was funny, John. I just mentioned that, and thinking about my wife. She was never into football at all. Couldn't care really. She liked going to Tennessee games and a few of the Greenville games and all that, but she never really understood it. And along the way, I tried to teach her some, and wasn't really interested in learning much about it until our son started playing football, and everything changed. And she wanted to know everything about it, and I taught her all about it. And by the time he was a senior, she was yelling at the refs. She was complaining about the coaching or all that, and she was really into it and loved going to the UT games even then because she understood it so much better, and would yell at those games too.
Don't you do that, Kevin Gentry? Don't you be messing with me and my big forehead. I see y'all talking.
But yeah, when you get involved in it with your family, it changes everything. And even if you're not somebody who's not interested in football, especially if your kids get in it or you got a brother in it or whatever, it changes your outlook, and you say, okay, now I need to figure out how this works, and so I can know what's going on. And especially with our son, somebody would, look like a foul him or hold him or something like that, and she would scream louder than me.
Yeah, yeah, that's oh yeah. Once your kid's involved, that changes things. Now
And
here,
that's it.
Shine Bright thinks that they're going to get Dion. That's not out of the realm of possibility. That
That
could
is not.
happen. I could see that possibly happening, but Lane's the obvious guy because Lane's
Yeah.
going to he'll knock on the door. He'll send his people, and I think he'd be an ideal hire for Florida. I think he would be successful there. I absolutely do. He
I
would.
know it. And
He would
how
have
fun.
he'd win 9 or 10 games a year easily.
Yeah.
There.
And
He'd
how
be
fun
tough.
would we could even hate Florida even more, which is hard to
Yes.
believe. But
Yes.
he would be the J.R. Ewing of SEC football.
Well,
And he's almost that now,
he'd
but
be
there,
tweeting at us before the game. He'd have his little tweets and be messing with us the way that.
oh yeah,
See,
and
it would. Oh, he'd love it. He would love poking the bear. And
I'll be honest, I would love to hate him there.
Absolutely, it's like when Spurrier would tell a journalist, and then they put it in the newspaper. Well, Lane will just tweet it, and then the journalists get it, or somebody like me, and I'm going to do a whole show on it, which would be perfect. And see, I call him Darth Kiffin, because we need a Darth Vader. We had Spurrier he would poke the bear. Well, you need that. See, even with Saban, who I call Emperor Palpatine, he doesn't run his mouth. Now he cries. He cries when we beat him, and they change the rules and do all this so that I never lose again. And that's why he's losing now, because of the rules changes that have happened with the transfer portal and the NIL. He doesn't. He can't stack the guys and then keep them on the bench for 4 years until they're finally, they finally get to play. He can't do any of that anymore, and that's why he's struggling. And, of course, he doesn't have the quarterback level that he's used to either. Not having a Bryce Young level quarterback or a Tua Tagovailoa or whatever his name was. He's used to having those 5-star unbelievable players, and right now he doesn't quite have that. So Texas, went down to Tuscaloosa. They were looking for a soul to steal. They were way behind.
Willing to make a deal.
Whooped up on Bama.
Yeah.
So,
that was interesting to see. Yeah. I think he will figure it out at some point, but he struggled with this a little bit. It kind of changed the way he operates, and he can't like run the table on recruits and then, like you said, park them on the bench for 2 or 3 years while they're waiting their turn. And so that's been a struggle. Plus, I guarantee you he's lost recruits because of the NIL money, and that that infuriates him.
Well, he had a great recruiting class last year, but he lost a ton of guys this year because of that. He had a bunch of sophomores that he recruited over that were ready to play, and he lost them.
Yeah.
Because what he couldn't do? He couldn't say, oh, by the way, if you leave, I'm going to make you sit out a year. I'm not going to agree to this, and you're going to have to sit out for a year, which kept them on the bench.
And I guarantee you, he told a lot of players that, because he did that.
I forgot to ask Allie if she played sports. She struck me as maybe a volleyball player or something. I should have asked her, maybe basketball. I meant to ask her, and I didn't ask her that.
She may have. I don't know.
Probably did. She probably did. But no, she was a real pro, man. I'm telling you.
But just and thinking about every time the Florida game comes around, especially the away Florida games, I always think about those 2 trips you and I and Junebug made down there with Doc to Gainesville in 2001 and 2003. The 4 of us went down there, and I think we've talked about it on the show before. You have. The 4 of us went down there, had a great trip, and with our dad. And both years we won, and that's the only 2 years I've been, and I'm pretty sure it's the only 2 years you've been in Gainesville, isn't it, John?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was it. That was it.
And we're 2-0. You're welcome, Vol fans. But I was looking.
20 years will not. They're not going to feel. They're not going to feel gratitude over that. I promise you.
No. It was our doing, though. Totally.
Yeah. Wesley says I got a radio voice. I actually have a face for radio, Wesley.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But
let's see.
I was thinking,
talking about.
I swear, I looked around. I thought maybe I had one on my computer or something. A picture of us on one of those trips, And I don't think I do, simply because this was so long ago, John. Our cell phones didn't have cameras.
No, they didn't. No, they were the flip phones, weren't they? Were the flip phones? Do we
I
have
was
those?
just going to say, look at this. I don't know if you can see this. I think this was the phone I had at that time.
Which was an amazing phone. I'm telling you, I remember that style phone. Wasn't that unbelievable that you could have a phone in your pocket?
Oh no, it's crazy.
I'm so excited.
I couldn't imagine having, if you had a camera, it was one of those pocket Instamatics with the actual film that you had to get developed and all that. And
oh yeah.
If you're anybody watching this that's younger, what are these guys talking about? But that's why we didn't have. I couldn't find any pictures of that. I so wish we did have some pictures of us at the game. But and that's one thing we haven't talked about.
If we had a video of that guy screaming behind us, defense. I would play that every single Florida video that I've ever had. I would play it every time. People would love
anything if I had cell phone like we had now. I would have taped that.
We'd have recorded the crap out of it. We'd have had to. God. All of us would have recorded it.
Because nobody understands how loud that dude was yelling for 4 full quarters. And I remember Junior saying, I think it was at halftime when we went to get to the concession stand or something. He said, "No way that guy lasts 4 quarters of that."
I know.
Going at the top of his lungs, defense.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, just crazy. Just
if I tried to emulate it one time, I wouldn't be able to talk the next day. One time.
Oh, it hurt my throat just doing that.
Well, I'm saying he did it 1,000 times. He was he was smashed drunk. But I'm sure the next day had to be just hoarse as can be.
Yeah, there's no way that guy could speak the next day.
Kelly's going 35-31. That wouldn't surprise me. I think it's going to be a tight game. And I do think we're going to try to run the ball as much as we can. But Florida's got good defensive line when it comes to running the ball. We're probably not going to be able to just, if we get 200 yards running, I'll be pleased. I don't think we'll get much more than that. And we're probably going to get a little over 200 yards throwing the ball. And they're probably going to have a similar amount, only they're going to probably have 85 yards, something like that, rushing the ball, and then probably 250 to 300 yards passing the ball. And so turnovers is going to be huge. Whoever has the turnovers, all those types of things. Now, Kevin, you didn't need to send me that. I appreciate it, but you didn't need to do that. He probably feels bad for the forehead comment. Oh, man.
Oh, and you guilted him.
Oh, no. I think it's funny. Those guys, they felt bad because somebody sent in a super chat for like 10 or 20 bucks and was smacking me on, giving me grief about the forehead and he didn't want to put it up. I said, just put the stupid thing up. I don't care. Good grief. My age, that's the last thing. I'm just glad I got some hair, man.
That's it.
What's left of it.
I got a little.
It won't be here forever.
No.
It just is what it is. Like everything. Everything's fleeting.
Yeah.
Can't worry about it.
That's it. But I still, in spite of the questions,
I can see you're nervous as hell about this game, Wilmot. I know your personality. You've got that battered Vols syndrome, and I see it. I see it on you.
No, you don't know that. You don't know that I have that.
Yeah, I see it on you. You're wearing it like a coat. It's BVS, and for the love of all that is holy, Wilmot, I don't want to hear about the refs. Just go ahead and tell the refs. Oh my God!
Let me get that out of the way. We are going to get so screwed on the officiating down there. It's ridiculous.
You do that every game, Wilmot. Every game. We do not get creaked every single game by the refs. It's not every single game, but for you, it's every time and you're furious about it. You and Doc were that. It's like you're really angry about it, and I'm sitting here going, Wilmot, it's not that bad. Why? Did you not
see the 3 defensive backs who had one receiver of ours pinned down on the ground?
I'll agree.
The guy who was hugging our receiver in the end zone, facing away from where the ball was coming, hits him in the back. Yeah. No pass interference.
I agree.
With the ref standing right there.
This
Oh,
forehead.
it's just the rub of the game. It has nothing to do with the fact that everybody hates us.
Why is my forehead making money? I just don't get it.
Why complain about it?
I'd rather have a better forehead and not the money. But
Oh,
you get what you're dealt in life. You get what you're dealt, baby. You might as well just learn to love it. It's like Aunt Bee's pickles. It's Aunt Bee's pickles. Just learn to love them.
It's like everybody gives Peyton Manning grief about that, and he laughs all the way to the bank to $500 million. So, yeah, be glad of it. Embrace what you have and be glad they're in, John.
Vols against the world. Plus, it's battered Vols syndrome. Is a
It
lot
is
of
bad.
that's what it's actually it's a symptom of battered Vols syndrome. Is the refs are always out to creak you. That's really what it is. And Wilmot's had that a long time, especially when we got worse. You know, when we were winning, we had Philip Fulmer. You weren't near as bad about it, and we were a lot more confident. You know, I felt like we were going to win every game. When
we were so
Fulmer
good, you couldn't. The cheating didn't cost us games like it does now. But it's I've told you many times, I'm not paranoid. It's just everybody's out to get us.
I agree. It's going to be. I'm so pumped. This game, I love it when the stakes are high.
Oh, it is.
I love it when the stakes are high because I care about the sport. I love football. It's my favorite sport, and all sports really. I've been playing sports my whole life. I loved playing over at UT. That was awesome. That was a great experience. I was not a great golfer over there. I was like a decent Division I player, but I wasn't anything special. But I loved it. But the entertainment value of football is hard. It's such a gladiator sport. Is really what it is. And I love to put the "Are you entertained? Are you not entertained?"
Yeah.
Because what Tennessee's doing is the last 2 years were the most entertaining team I've ever watched in my lifetime. And that includes the Philip Fulmer years when we were winning a lot. I've enjoyed the last 2 years the most of any football I've ever watched ever because of that offense was so exciting and fun and just dynamic, and it shocked the other teams. I loved the look on the coach's face on the other side when we were up like 28-7 in the first quarter, and they were just like, and all the fans are over there doing the surrender cobra everywhere.
Yeah.
That pleased me to no end. I was just, oh my gosh. What was
like
the name
I said,
of that?
after wandering in the desert for 20 years, and all of a sudden we just can't be stopped offensively. It's just been unbelievable. And it really started, like you said, 2 years ago. It's like all of a sudden it was like the difference in basketball from Buzz Peterson and then what's his name? The guy Bruce Pearl came in.
Bruce, when Pearl.
And I remember talking to Junebug, and I'd gone to a game the year before he got there, and it was like a funeral combined with a wake. It was there was like 1,000 people at the game. Nobody was cheering. Our team sucked. It was horrible. And the next year, Junebug called me and said, "Wilton, you got to come down for a game." And I said, "What the heck am I going to go down there for? That's the worst thing I ever went to in my life." And he said, "Oh, you just wait. It's completely different now."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the year I went down there. It was, I think, the first year we beat Florida, the year they won the national championship, but we beat them. And
we beat them twice that year. Didn't we beat them twice?
Yeah, we beat them. We swept them that year, and they won the national championship.
I know.
And I remember going down to that.
I think Aaron's asking, he hit the deep bomb. Yes, he's going to hit the deep bomb. I absolutely think so. I would not be completely shocked if they don't try that on the first play, or they'll throw those little short passes until they come up, and then he'll try to hit it. I think there's going to be some of that because what he's wanting to do, he wants to get Joe moving. He wants to get him feeling good, and a big bomb like that would be fantastic for his confidence and get the team all fired up. And that's what Utah did. Utah had their third-string guy in there, and they hit about a 70-yarder and kind of shocked Florida because Florida was expecting a run. They thought they would start out trying to run. They had the third-string guy, and Utah said, "Well, you know what? Watch this. Hold my beer." And next thing you know, they're up 7-0. So yeah, they're going to try that for sure. We'll throw 4 or 5 deep bombs in that ball game.
And I think Milton's the type, if he can get confident, if he can get excited, but with the confidence, okay, it's working. Everything's working now. I think, and that's what happened at Clemson. That's kind of what happened at Virginia, the last couple of games of last year. I think if he can get, confident and comfortable, that's the big thing. If he's not comfortable, I think that's when he makes the bad throws or the too hard throws on a short pass.
Yeah.
But if he can get a little bit comfortable back there, I think he's a different quarterback. And could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case.
Well, here's the thing, Wilmot. If he plays well, it won't matter. If he doesn't, we do have the #1 player in the country behind him. I know he's a true freshman, but he's been there 10 months, and he was as big a 5-star as he's the biggest 5-star we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
It's hard to do any better than #1 player. And the guy's, he's the future. So worst case scenario, we've got the #1 player in the country right behind him. So that's why I feel good about the quarterback room. It's like, I think Joe might go out there and ball out and play like he did at Clemson. We're fine. No worries. If not, we've got the #1 player behind him. If not, we've got Gaston Moore, who's been with the coach Heupel for 3 years, and Heupel's very comfortable with him. And
he's
after
very
seeing
solid.
that spring game, you can see why he's basically a coach.
Yeah.
So I think we're fine there. Regardless, I'm not going to be tore up if he does. If he plays great, that's perfect for me as a YouTube content creator. Nothing would be better for me than Joe Milton to ball out. That would be ideal. But if he doesn't, and he plays poorly and he gets replaced, we're sitting there with the best player available. And he's been there 10 months, and he makes $2 million a year.
My only worry is it costs us the game to get to that point.
Well, let me tell you something. It's football, man. We could lose the game even if Joe plays pretty good. We can lose the game. I mean, it's Florida at the Swamp. They find ways to win those games against us sometimes. Yeah. So it's not, that's why I'm not like freaked out. It's one ball game. We're going to find out a lot. And I want to know how he's going to respond under that level of pressure, because that's what you need to know. I found out with Hendon Hooker in the Pittsburgh game. And then last year, when he balled out when he ran for a touchdown, they called it back in the overtime. And then he threw a dart to Cedric for another touchdown. I was like, that guy mentally he's a baller.
Yeah, he's a winner.
I'm telling you, as an athlete, that would have crushed 99.9% of athletes. Would have gone, well, I did everything I could, and I got screwed, and blah, blah, blah. And what do you want? He calmly said, okay, hold my beer. Boom, touchdown. You like that? I'm going to call that back too? I'll just throw a third one. How about that?
Yeah, he did.
I had no doubt. And then what did he do in the Alabama game? The exact same thing. Unbelievable amount of pressure on him. Could not have been a more dynamic situation. 15 seconds left. Boom.
It's McCoy.
No. Hits the first pass. Perfect. 15, 20 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. Got the rush on him. Goes up, makes this miraculous throw to Brew. They get the ball down with 1 second to go, and we kick the freaking helicopter. And I'm going, those are two epic endings. And who engineered them? Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
That's why that guy was very, very special. And you sometimes you get lucky and you get a guy like that.
And I'll tell you, that team last year, when it didn't matter what the situation was, they had so much confidence in him, and he had so much confidence in himself. I knew we could win any game with him.
Absolutely. I had zero. My only concern with him is if he got hurt. And then that South Carolina game, he got hurt. And I know we were probably going to lose that game anyway, but that was a nightmare.
That game was horrible. It makes me sick.
It was just like our basketball player, little point guard.
Yeah.
The non-contact injury. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, well, I don't want to go much longer, Wilmot. We're a little over.
Yeah, we're over an hour now.
Yeah, but I appreciate everybody showing up, and thank you for the super thanks and the super chat and my forehead comments and all that good stuff. And we're only 48 hours away, folks. We're 48 hours away. No, we're 47 hours away, right? Because it's 30. Yeah, we're 47 hours away from the biggest game of the year. And I'm pumped. I am pumped. It's going to be so much fun. And it's not the end of the world if we don't win, but it'll feel like it.
Yes.
It'll feel like it for a while. And then we'll regroup. Look, we got Josh Heupel. Joe could work out beautifully. If he doesn't, Nico's behind him. You know, it's just don't everybody – it's not the end of the world. Let me tell you who it will be for as far as their career is concerned. If Billy Napier loses, I don't like his chances, folks. I just don't. Don't like his chances. But anyway, appreciate y'all coming on, and we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. All right.